As we saw last night, Sophie Cunningham sent a clear message to J.C. Sheldon last night. Of course, with the foul at the very end of the game. By the way, all of a sudden the refs were all about...
Natalie Esquire says there's no place in the game for what Sophie Cunningham did? Really? That's your line? Not when Marina Mabre tried to audition for the next UFC main event using Caitlin Clark's face as a punching bag. Not when half the league's been taking cheap shots like it's open mic night at a comedy roast. But Sophie, who had the audacity to do what no one else on the Fever dared to, defend her teammate.
Much too late. It was a total officiating failure again. God, if it's not a physical incident, it's an officiating failure we're talking about. And frankly, that's nearly every
Now suddenly that's the crime of the century? Make it make sense. This league has become a full-blown telenovela with less basketball and more high school cafeteria drama. Cunningham didn't throw a punch, didn't start a brawl, didn't light a flare gun. She committed the unthinkable sin of having Caitlin Clark's back. And now we've got analysts acting like she should be in handcuffs instead of a highlight reel. The double standard is so loud, it's practically echoing through every WNBA arena. Caitlin gets body checked into the hardwood, and the officials just blink like their controller batteries died. But Sophie throws a flagrant foul, and all of a sudden we're debating federal charges, please. If Sophie Cunningham deserves to be arrested, then half the league needs orange jumpsuits and ankle monitors. The truth? Sophie wasn't dirty. She was decisive. She was what the Fever needed. She was what Caitlin deserved. You want to talk about what has no place in the game? How about referees who let blatant fouls slide like they're being paid in popcorn? How about players who see a rookie taking hits every game and pretend like it's just hard basketball? Sophie finally said, enough is enough.
Natalie Esquire, no place in the game for what Sophie Cunningham did. That warrants further review and penalty from the league. Penalty from the league, huh? Penalty from the league, huh? Natalie Esquire. Penalty from the league when Marina Marbury assaulted Caitlin Clark.
And somehow that's the moment we're going to analyze to death. This isn't just wild, it's delusional. The hypocrisy is staggering. Marina Mabre goes full Mortal Kombat on Caitlin, and no one bats an eye. But Sophie gives J.C. Sheldon a hard check, and suddenly we've got legal scholars crawling out the woodwork with WNBA rulebooks like it's bar exam prep. Let's talk facts. Caitlin Clark has taken more hits this season than a piñata at a birthday party. And not the cute kind of bumps. We're talking face swipes, shoulder shoves, forearm blasts, all delivered with the grace of a rhino on roller skates. And through it all, silence. No protection, no pushback. Until Sophie Cunningham entered the chat. She didn't just help Caitlin off the floor, she stood between her and a mob of jealous elbows and bruised egos. And now that she's disrupted the toxic little unspoken agreement that Clark is fair game, the league's losing its mind. Good. They should be uncomfortable. They should feel the heat. Because Sophie didn't break the code, she rewrote it. She didn't wait for permission, she didn't need a microphone. She said with one action what the Fever and the fans have been screaming for weeks. We've had enough. And the fans, they're here for it. Sophie's jersey, out of stock, overnight.
It's sweet when Caitlin Clark getting blindsided. Who, mind you, should be ejected. But Sophie gives JC a hard foul and no place in the game for that. Sophie Cunningham did. You ever get tired of talking out your this league?
Small, medium, large, XXL. You can't find one unless you've got to connect. That's what happens when someone finally steps up. That's what loyalty looks like. That's what fire looks like. While some teammates were busy watching Caitlin get elbowed and treated like a chew toy, Sophie chose violence. And by violence, I mean accountability. And the backlash? Oh, it's comedy gold. Suddenly every commentator's a cop, every fan's a lawyer, and every player who's dished out cheap shots all season long is now pretending they're too pure for physical contact. Miss us with that. If you want to start arresting people for hard fouls, go ahead and call an Uber for half the Connecticut Sun roster. Sophie's foul wasn't reckless, it was righteous. And the energy it sent across the court, unmatched. Fever fans stood up, casual fans took notice, and the rest of the league shook, because deep down they know the truth. This wasn't about the foul. It was about the fact that someone finally dared to challenge the system. The same system that's been trying to humble Caitlin Clark since she stepped onto a WNBA court. The same system that's okay with her being pushed around, but loses it the second someone says, not today. Sophie Cunningham is not the problem. She's the solution to one. And what makes this even more laughable is that the analyst demanding her arrest probably watched the entire beatdown of Caitlin Clark with a bowl of popcorn.
Natalie Esquire is literally going on a rant. She's going on a rant right now about this whole situation with...
And said nothing. But the moment someone steps in to protect her, now it's time to bring in the feds. Be serious. If anything, Sophie deserves a standing ovation, a bonus check, and a Netflix special titled Sophie versus the Mob. Because what she did took guts. What she did was leadership. What she did was everything we claim we want in team sports, until it's inconvenient for the narrative. And speaking of narrative, let's talk about how quickly this league went from girl power to girl problems. Last year, it was all about unity and growth and empowering women. This year, it's who can throw Caitlin Clark into a wall without getting caught. Finally, someone stood up, not with a quote, not with a tweet, but with action. Sophie didn't flinch, didn't wait for approval. She read the room, saw Caitlin Clark getting slammed like it was open season, and said, nah, we're not doing this anymore. That's not assault. That's accountability. That's called sending a message. And the message landed loud and clear. The Fever might be new, but they're not soft. And Caitlin Clark, she's got real ones in her corner now. Remember when people used to ask, where are Caitlin's protectors? Well, here she is, blonde bomber, Midwestern muscle.
League and what they doing with Sophie Cunningham. This is crazy. This is crazy right now. Crazy work. Crazy work.
Sophie no more Miss Nice teammate Cunningham. And you know who's uncomfortable? Everyone who thought they could keep bullying Clark without consequence. That party's over. What's wild is that this league has been begging for more passion, more rivalries, more heat. And the minute they get it, they try to douse the flame. The refs? Please. They've missed more calls than a drunk telemarketer. Caitlin's been mauled all season. Slapped, hip-checked, full-blown tackled. And the refs have just stood there like their whistles were out of batteries. But Sophie throws a hard foul with purpose and now everyone's pretending to care about safety? Come on, the double standard is gross. You don't get to ignore weeks of foul play and then gasp when someone finally claps back. This isn't about rules. It's about who the league's trying to protect and who they're trying to silence. And guess what? The fans see it. They're not dumb. They know when an agenda's being pushed. You can't gaslight a fan base into thinking Sophie's the villain here. Not when they've been watching Caitlin take elbows to the throat for months. Not when commentators have been suspiciously quiet every time a veteran tries to send a message with a shove. What Sophie did wasn't excessive. It was overdue. It was a necessary vibe check. It was the line in the sand the league needed. And now people are shook because she drew it so clearly.
Out to Sophie, the trophy, half of the blonde bombers, Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham held it down. Sophie, let me know. I will Uber Eats, DoorDash you, whatever you...
J.C. Sheldon walked into that foul like a scene partner in a soap opera. Was it a little dramatic? Sure, but so was the buildup. Weeks of watching Caitlin get bullied like it was part of the game plan. Sophie's foul wasn't an isolated incident. It was a response, a counterattack, a moment of, you mess with her, you mess with us. And honestly, that's what being a real teammate is about. You don't let your franchise player get smacked around while you jog back on defense. You don't watch your point guard get pushed into the bleachers and call it grit. You step up, you send a message. And if it costs you a flagrant, so be it. Worth it, 1,000 times. Because now the whole league knows Clark's got backup. And no, we're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for consistency. If you're going to call Sophie's foul criminal, then call out every elbow, every blindside, every post-whistle shove that's been thrown at Caitlin. Be honest. Be balanced. Or just admit the truth. You're mad she fought back. You're mad she didn't follow the script. You're mad she made you uncomfortable. And that's too bad because this is basketball, not ballet. And guess what? The ratings are up. The crowd is louder. The jerseys are selling out. Why? Because the drama's real. Because the players care. And because finally, someone is standing up instead of standing by. Sophie Cunningham's impact wasn't just physical. It was cultural. She changed the conversation. She flipped the narrative. She said, if you won't protect Caitlin, I will. And the league better listen, because fans are picking sides. And spoiler alert, it's not the side calling for arrests over a basketball foul. It's the side tired of watching their favorite player get dragged across the court while everyone acts like it's part of the game. It's the side that respects heart, grit, and loyalty. Sophie didn't just foul J.C. Sheldon.
Whatever you want to eat tonight. You want some Popeyes? You want me to send you a Chipotle bowl? You want to go high end. You want some towel, whatever you want. I will walk to Indiana. I will walk barefoot to Indiana to deliver.
He fouled the entire system that said Caitlin Clark doesn't deserve protection. And now the internet's on fire, the jerseys are gone, and the league is backpedaling. Welcome to the new WNBA, where the old guard gets checked, literally and figuratively. You think it's over? Nah, this is just the beginning. Because next game, the energy's different, the respect's different, the whole temperature has changed. And you know what? It needed to. No more mean girls in high tops, no more refs with stage fright. No more analysts pretending not to see what's happening. Sophie changed the game, whether the league admits it or not. So to the fans, keep that energy. To the Fever, back your girl. And to the WNBA, step up.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000% did what was deserved to JC Sheldon. And the commentators are on the money. They're on the money. Like, someone's commented this. I feel like Sophie was the only one who would have done something back if she was on the
Because if you don't protect your stars, your fans will notice. And if you try to punish the few who actually care enough to fight back, they'll walk. Real recognize real. And Sophie, she's as real as it gets. MVP? Maybe not in stats, but in guts, in impact, in loyalty, she's top of the league. And no amount of outrage, pearl clutching, or fake concern is going
back if she was on the floor. Sophie Cunningham got her. Sophie Cunningham got her. And I mean this when I say this. This would have been a flagrant 2, except for the fact that they allowed Marina Mabrey did what she did. This possibly should be a flagrant 2. She got her around the neck. And then JC Sheldon gets up. And then Sophie immediately goes at JC
This
Sheldon.
is the foul heard around the world from an angle. Look, Caitlin gets her eye rigged. That's basketball. That is not basketball. Okay, there was a foul there that was just basketball. And look, I don't want to hear anything about race. That's a white